Hey everyone, it's Blair here at Time Trades. Thanks for joining me this weekend. Today is Sunday, March 12th, and this is your weekly video. Well, we're going to start as usual with a review of last week's forecast. I think it was pretty good. Last week, I made the call that the Friday rally was fake, this big bar over here on Friday, March 3rd. I faded that rally on the video over the weekend. Monday, we got a gravestone doji candle followed by 3 out of the next 4 days being down. We crossed below this important green line here, and I've explained what makes that important on prior videos. It's basically a Gann fan anchored to some important Mars cycles. We have not yet separated below the green line, though, so looking for that separation to continue in the future here. So this yellow line here is the forecast that we drew or updated last week. We certainly got the direction correct, haven't quite got the magnitude correct yet, so I'd give myself maybe a B plus, A minus. Everyone was pretty excited after this big Friday pump. But I saw some things in the timing that didn't support a continuation of that, and that came to pass this week. So overall, I think the current directional forecast is intact. Pretty happy to see things play out as expected here. So, of course, the usual question every week is what's next. So I'm going to go through some of the factors that I consider in the forecast and then update the forecast. Okay, so coming up this week, we've got a couple big news items here. We've got CPI, the consumer price index, dropping on Tuesday morning, and then the next day we've got producer price index on Wednesday morning, and then we've got this purple line here. This is a cheat code. This actually happens if you drop down to an intraday time frame. That happens Tuesday morning. Typically on these cheat code purple line days, we do get a bit of a pump and dump. That seems to be the normal behavior. It doesn't always happen, of course. So that's something to keep in mind for this coming week. Also, the CPI is happening, is being released during one of our bearish intraday time windows, and that is indicative of a potential pump and dump that day, with the cheat code happening that morning as well, and then news coming out. So of course, things are super volatile with the Silicon Valley Bank situation and all that. I'm just going to ignore that. You know, interpreting news is kind of not my thing here. So I'll let all the other big brain pundits on Twitter give their takes, good or bad, on Silicon Valley Bank and what the Fed's going to do and all this stuff. Okay, so that's the cheat code. CPI is coming out in a bearish time window. And we also talked about our Gann square of 9 date. I tweeted this out on Twitter. That's March 16th. Okay, so we can see March 16th is a square out date using time on the Gann square of 9. So that is right here at the apex of this forecast. So that is something that is one of the reasons why the forecast is where it is. Let's go and take a look at some of the other things that I'm seeing here on Time Trades. So if we go and take a look at, let's just take a look at the cues here, and we can take a look at short-term waves. And one of the things about short-term waves, as usual, just a reminder, yellow is Mercury speed, light blue is Mercury and Venus separation. And one of the things that typically happens is as Mercury slows down, we get a drop in prices. So even though our current timing window right now is set to kind of peak around March 16th for a bottom, there's an argument to be made that might be that might be early. There's an argument to be made that, you know, there might be a second bottom after we go through the Mercury retrograde cycle and Mercury slows down here. And that's also what the machine learning is telling us down here, with some probabilities of a pivot low in the March 29th to April 3rd kind of time window here for the Qs. So that's definitely a factor. And also you can see here how the peak in separation in Mercury Venus correlated pretty strongly over here with this high on February 2nd. Okay, so we had that peak and that happen. And also, if we go back and take a look at the cheat code lines, one of the things I talk about is how cheat code teal or cheat code blue here that happened on January 30th often correlates with a major pivot. And, you know, sure enough, within about a week of that hitting, we got a major high in the Qs, and we haven't been higher since then. We've been sort of slowly rolling over, and now the news is catching up with the price action, and that's indicating lower prices here. Another thing that's indicating lower prices is if we go back to TradingView and take a look at the Chaikin money flow. This is a good little volume indicator I like to use to check for confirmation of downtrends and uptrends. It's definitely confirming down here. So the CMF right now is negative. It's below where it was on prior lows. So if we go and look at this low on March 2nd, it's well below there. If we go and look at this low on January 31st, way below that at 0.22. And in fact, it's the lowest, basically the lowest it's been since January 10th, when the NQ futures were down at 11,200, almost like 700 points lower than where they are right now. So this is not a fake move down, is the conclusion. This is a real move down. Okay, so we're going to take a look at timing here, and I'm going to share with you another bit of research that I came across this week, and it's like, oh geez, here goes Blair again with some crazy new research item. But I want to share this with you because I think it is pretty compelling, and it does support our timing window for a reversal. So this is something that I'm calling a solar reversal zone here. So we can just zoom into this. And so this is the yellow box, is this new solar reversal zone. And this is something that I came across this week in my research and reading. And I'm very intrigued by this because it does overlap our existing green forecast box. So of course, the question is, well, you know, how did it do in the past? Well, this is one of those things that happens about twice a year. So we can go through and scroll back, and I marked on the chart here a couple of areas in the past where these have also occurred. So we can kind of judge and eyeball how successful this has been. So we definitely got a reversal here, March 3rd. You know, it wasn't a major one, but, you know, definitely significant. We got about a 1 week, probably about a 2 week drop out of that. So that was a good hit. So let's go back some more and take a look some more. The one prior to that was over here in February of 2021. That's an excellent hit. So we've got that solar reversal zone, and this top on February 16th hit right at the end of that, and that led to a significant drop. So let's scroll through some more and see the next zone we've got here, January 20th. And this was just before the COVID crash. So this was January 20th, 2020. And this was this caught a little drop just before the COVID crash. And I do want to correct myself. I think I said these happen twice a year. I misspoke. These happen once a year. So these solar reversal zones happen once a year. So let's scroll back some more and look at the prior one. and see if this is also a good hit. This is probably my favorite hit here. This is like the Christmas crash in 2018. And that reversed right within the solar reversal zone here. So very, very good hit. And that was and this was a major reversal. Of course, you know, it dipped down to this white magic level at 5,800, and then of course took off and never looked back. So I think I've got one more marked in the history here. And there's this little guy in December of 2017, and this was a minor reversal, but a reversal nonetheless. So the tendency, the conclusion from looking at all this is that these reversal zones are real. The only question, the only variable seems to be, you know, what is the significance of the reversal? Is it a major reversal? Is it a minor one? So we've got that coming up as well, which overlaps our green box, which gives us great confidence, I think, in the quality of this timing forecast. So that's another factor we're going to consider. And we looked at mercury speed, we looked at short-term waves. So those other factors are pointing to maybe either a later reversal or a second bottom later in April. So what I'm going to do here with this is I'm just going to update our green box with our forecast for the reversal zone, and I'm going to pull it forward to cover about half of this solar reversal here ending March 24th. And I'm going to pull it forward here because obviously, you know, we didn't get a reversal. We don't see any evidence of reversal in the last 2 days. So I'm going to pull this forward to start on the 16th of March, which is our date from the Gann square of 9. So this is our new forecast going forward. I'm going to adjust the arrow to bottom in kind of the middle here. Now, as far as price goes, you know, I don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about price. I'm focused more on time. But certainly this ruby red Gann fan here is a good target zone for price. And then we've got two orange magic levels right below, and then we've got, I think that's a 2x1 here, this blue line, and you can see how this blue line has provided some good support. I think if things get really bad, we could come down into that area here, but that might be a little bit too far. So anyways, this is I think a reasonable kind of box in terms of price target. You know, who knows, the Fed might pull another rabbit out of its hat and everyone might get all bullish again. And we only, you know, come down here to another couple hundred points to 11,700. But I'm going to go with this for now. I really like the timing that we've got here. I think this coming week we've got some possibility for a bounce up earlier in the week. CPI could be a catalyst for further move down as that's being released during an intraday bearish period. Okay, so that's the updated forecast. Let's go and take a look at time trades, and we can go through some of our symbols here. One of the things that I notice on the cues is that we've got this cluster of pivot lows a little later than our timing box, so we may end up pushing out our timing box as we get some more information, as we see a few more candles here. And certainly this pivot low here, it aligns a little bit better with the Mercury speed trend and the Mercury Venus separation trend as well. Okay, so that's the cues. Let's take a quick look at SPX here. Now, it looks like there's some bug with my data provider. I'm getting some weird price data points on SPX, but it's the forecast is showing a couple of waves down on the SPX. We got one that ended March 9th on Thursday, but then a second wave forecast for next week. So that's something to look out for on that forecast. All right, so let's go and take a look at the DXY, because this one's really interesting. And of course, it's the kind of the kingpin to the whole, to everything else. And if we turn on our cheat code lines here, you can see how cheat code teal, I talked about how cheat code teal typically is a major pivot. And wow, did it ever nail this pivot on DXY back in late January. And so here we are here. There's a couple things that I'm noticing right away. One is this big cluster of red. And second is this major pivot high. Okay. So we've got, like an 81% probability of a pivot high on April 3rd in DXY. And that's kind of another reason why I think we may see a later low than our current window. But we'll monitor that and see how that goes. Is, if indeed this pivot high date turns out to be accurate, then, if we see the dollar going up into this time period, then of course stock markets in the US are going to decline. So that would lend itself to a later pivot low in stock prices. So that of course contradicts the decline probabilities here, because we've got things going in different directions, and that's okay. That's how the machine learning works, because they're actually 4 separate independent machine learning models, and inversions are common in this, right? So we need to factor that in when we're looking at this. So this cluster of probabilities of a move up could actually invert, and it could turn into probabilities, this cluster of probabilities of a move down could invert and turn into a cluster of probabilities of moves up into this pivot high. So that's something I'll be watching very closely. But regardless, we're looking at probabilities of 2 standard deviation moves here in any direction on the DXY, whether this inverts or not. And we've also got April 3rd identified as a key potential inflection point. And 81% probability in a pivot high is very high probability. That's not something to be ignored. Okay, so that's that. Let's go and take a look at crypto. Okay, here's Bitcoin. Bitcoin is continuing its move down here after this big candle on March 3rd. Certainly what pops out is this big pivot low on April 7th. And again, I think this is another potential argument of a later pivot than what we're seeing right now. And one of the reasons why I kind of like this cluster of pivot lows here is it does align nicely with Mercury speed, and it aligns nicely with Mercury and Venus separation. And we've got this nice cluster of moves down as well. So it looks like there's another wave down coming in crypto. This is even more apparent when we take a look at the Ethereum chart. And I'm just going to turn off GANFANs here in Ethereum. And the probabilities are even more confident in Ethereum here, with a cluster of moves down heading into a big cluster of pivot lows in early April. Okay, and again, nice alignment here with the Mercury-Venus separation as well as Mercury speed. Okay, and we're going to close out the call with a quick review of Indian stocks. And now I've got GANFANs turned on here for the NIFTY, so it makes for a bit of a busy chart, but bear with me, I'll walk you through it. Let me just turn off short-term waves. Now, we're looking at the GAN-FAN down from December 1st, and we can see how this middle line here, this is the 1x1, okay? And that provided very good resistance here on January 24th. We got a little poke up above it on February 16th, but then we got very quickly, we got a gap down on February 22nd, okay? And this tells us that we've got our 1x1 in the right spot. When you see gaps over with or under a 1x1, that's kind of confirming that we've got the chart squared correctly. And we can see that happen again. We had a gap up on March 6th, and then we had another gap below on March 10th. So the behavior here in the Nifty is aligning very nicely with the 1x1. So right now we're down below the 1x1. I think we're going to continue down here. It would make sense to me that we tag at least this magic level. I've been talking about this for a few weeks here, 17,033, maybe even this week, right? Because we've got another cluster moves up starting March 20th into a pivot high April 6th. So some very interesting times on the Nifty. I think we could approach a very good buying signal this week if we can get down near this magic level and also look for some technical divergences in your technical indicators. The timing's looking good to open some long positions here. Okay, so that's it for me. I hope you had a great week trading. Good luck this coming week. Trade safe, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thank you. Bye now.